As we all know, or in case you didn't know, a grocery store is a store that primarily sells food products that may be fresh or packaged. Larger format stores, often referred to as supermarkets and hypermarkets, usually stock significant amounts of non-food products, such as clothing and household items. I'm sure we can all guess the largest supermarket chain in the world. In today's video, we've decided to continue our top 10 list to the fascinating world of forgotten grocery store chains, part 2. Before we get started, the creators of Underground Retail wanted to give a huge thanks to everyone who has been supporting the channel as it officially reached over 9,000 subscribers. We have also added memberships to the channel that you can join for early access to videos, photo updates, behind the scenes, editing tutorials, and more. Be sure to check it out in the link below. Now, without any further ado, let's get started.
You missed one.
I'll get it. Wait, ma'am.
Number 10. Bohacks. Bohack was a chain of grocery stores located in the New York City area that opened in 1887. It was founded by Henry C. Bohack. Bohack's also had its special products that people loved, such as its brand of cheesecake people have raved about. There was also a whole line of food products sold under the brand Bohack's Best Brand, from applesauces to white bread. They also incorporated gas stations and restaurants in the 1920s and 30s, but the Great Depression put the end to those as well. Founder H.C. Bohack died in 1931, and the business was passed over to his wife and nephews. In 1965, the Bohack family took the company public. Charles Bluedorn, who was an incredible powerful man as the chairman of Gulf and Western Industries Inc., became the majority of stockholder of Bohack's. Charles Bluedorn's penchant for acquiring businesses led to the company to expand and acquire other supermarket chains such as Packers and Date Shopwell. Bohack's expansion and acquisition would prove to be fatal for the company, as the recession of the 1970s would cause the company to go through multiple bankruptcies until all the stores were closed for good in 1977. Number 9. Weingartens. The origins of Weingarten were dated back to the early 1900s, when Jewish immigrant Hirsch Harris Weingarten opened a grocery store in downtown Houston with his son Joseph Weingarten. A second store was opened around 1920, with the market slogan being "Better food for less." The stores would later be pioneered as self-service and cash-and-carry shopping. By the end of the 1960s, the chain operated 70 stores in the Texas, Arkansas, and Louisiana area. To concentrate more on real estate development for shopping centers, the stores, which had grown to 104 locations in 5 states, were sold to Grand Union in 1980. Grand Union then resold most of the stores to Safeway in 1983. Number 8. Chatham. Chatham's was a Michigan-based supermarket chain founded by Peter Weisberg in the mid-1950s. Chatham was often compared to Kroger in its size and location. Chatham was unable to keep up with big box grocery competitors, including Michigan-based Meijer. In 1986, the company was briefly owned by Nutrax Inc. before shortly being purchased by Alex Dandy. Alex Dandy was a businessman who owned the Hamady Brothers food chain in Flint, Michigan. Dandy illegally diverted assets of the company to his benefit, and Chatham was forced to file for bankruptcy in 1987. Dandy was convicted in 1991 of tax offenses, mail fraud, bankruptcy fraud, and obstruction of justice. Most of the former Chatham locations were purchased by Kroger after the chain went out of business. Number 7. SaveRite. SaveRite was a U.S. chain of discount grocery stores that were owned by Winn-Dixie. The The store offered a smaller selection and less customer support than most grocery stores. Winn-Dixie created the SaveRite brand as an experiment to increase its revenues and opened 11 stores throughout its distribution area. In November 2001, Winn-Dixie announced plans to convert nearly all its 40-some Winn-Dixie and Winn-Dixie Marketplace brand stores in the metro Atlanta area into SaveRites as a last-ditch effort to keep a hold on its market share. The market share was rapidly declining due to a stiff competition from Walmart, Publix, Kroger, Food Lion, and other similar stores. In 2005, SaveRite pulled out of the Atlanta area due to Winn-Dixie's decision to close 386 stores. This left stores in the Mississippi, Florida, and Ohio areas. On August 18, 2011, Winn-Dixie announced it was converting the 6 remaining SaveRite locations to the Winn-Dixie banner. Number 6. American Fare. Although not just a grocery store, American Fare was a chain of hypermarkets that operated from 1989 to 1994. It was a joint venture including Kmart, which owned 51% of the stores, and Birmingham, Alabama-based Bruno Supermarkets, now defunct, which owned 49% of the stores. The first store opened in 1989 in Stone Mountain, Georgia, and was 244,000 square feet, being the size of most current Walmart supermarkets. The store was divided up, with 105,000 square feet being devoted to hardlines, 75,000 square feet to food, 35,000 square feet for apparel, and the remainder to the mall section of the store. A second store was followed on April 1990 in Charlotte, North Carolina, is comprised of 100,000 square feet smaller than the one in Georgia. A third store would soon open in Jackson, Missouri, being slightly smaller than the Atlanta location but larger than the Charlotte location, being comprised of 147,000 square feet with reduced square footage and the presence of white floor tile as opposed to polished concrete to eliminate a wholesale warehouse atmosphere. In 1992, Bruno's exited the partnership, leaving ownership and operations of American Fare exclusive to Kmart. It also realized that only 1 out of the 3 American Fares were breaking even, with that being the Charlotte, North Carolina location. The Stone Mountain location was losing money, and the Jackson location was faring well. Consequently, Kmart said the Jackson American Fare store would soon be rebranded under the chain's newest umbrella, Super Kmart Center. Following 2 purpose-built stores in Medina and Montrose, Ohio, respectively, the Jackson, Missouri American Fare would become the company's 3rd Super Kmart Center in operation. The Charlotte, North Carolina American Fare would be the 4th. The Stone Mountain store lost its grocery section and was subdivided, with Cub Foods taking the newly opened section of the store, and the remaining American Fare was converted to a regular Kmart store in May of 1994. Number 5. Big Bear. Big Bear was a regional supermarket chain that operated in Ohio and West Virginia. The company was founded in Columbus, Ohio in November 1993 by Wayne E. Brown. The first store opened on West Lane Avenue in Columbus, Ohio, which marked the beginning of self-service supermarketing in the Midwest. It has also been said that it's the first supermarket to use cashier-operated motorized conveyor belts and claimed several innovative services. Big Bear's private brand was named Betty Brown, which was named after the founder's wife and had a trading stamp program. In the 1950s, it became the supermarket in the nation to use the new IBM 305 RAMAC mainframe computer. Big Bear Co. would purchase a regional general merchandise store known as Hart's, which was also a company based out of Ohio. In July 1988, the company would debut its hypermarket Big Bear Plus concept that featured 40% food and 60% general merchandise. The Hyperstore concept was a combination of its Hart stores and the Big Bear grocery format. A year later, the supermarket holding company, Penn Traffic, purchased the company, making Big Bear part of their division. The Big Bear division began having cash flow issues in 2003, and product suppliers pulled their items from store shelves as most accounts were past due. The chain's demise was finalized in 2004 when the last Big Bear store closed its doors. Number 4. Marsh Supermarkets. Wilbur Marsh opened the first Marsh grocery store in 1922 in North Salem, Indiana. By the 1930s, the family-owned business had a chain of stores throughout Indiana and later Ohio, with the first true supermarket appearing in 1947. The first Marsh Supermarket in Indianapolis, located at 53rd Street and Keystone Avenue, opened in 1957. Marsh then increased its presence in Indianapolis to include 33 supermarkets and 66 Village Pantry convenience stores. Battling fierce competition from Kroger and Cub Foods, Marsh developed large one-stop shopping stores, which included specialty foods and services, and claimed 30% of the Indianapolis market by the early 1990s. Marsh also stocked regional favorites in its stores, such as Rosaline Bakery, Recipe Pastries, cakes, and cookies. By the mid-1990s, Marsh was the nation's 38th largest food retailer, accruing about $1.3 billion in annual sales and employing over 4,000 people from the Indianapolis area in its Marion County warehouse, stores, and corporate offices. In 2001, Marsh purchased O'Malia Food Markets and Carter Supermarkets. Purchase of Mr. D's Fresh Food Markets followed in 2003. With the acquisition of these smaller regional supermarket chains, Marsh eliminated some of its competition. Marsh retained the O'Malia name and elevated those stores for the upscale food trade, while the other markets were rebranded as Marsh Supermarkets. The company began to experience financial problems because of increased competition from Kroger and Meijer, who began opening stores in Indiana in 1994. Marsh attempted to expand beyond its Indiana, Ohio markets in 2005, including the Chicago area, but those stores failed within a year. As company growth slowed and competition increased, Marsh explored options to sell the company. In 2006, a private equity firm located in Boca Raton, Florida, acquired Marsh for approximately $88 million. After purchasing Marsh, Sun Capital sold all non-core subsidiaries and closed low-performing stores. The company also replaced Marsh store-branded products with less-known food club brands. The food club brands brought bigger profit, but Marsh stores lost customers who had been loyal to the store's products. By early 2017, reports leaked to the press that some Marsh stores were struggling to pay rent, while parent company Sun tried to sell its Marsh headquarters in Fisher to raise funds. In June of that same year, the company announced that all stores would close with the operation of Marsh and O'Malia stores, ending on July 8, 2017. The bankruptcy left $80 million in debt to worker severance and pensions. Number 3. Farmer Jack. Founded by Jewish-Russian immigrants Tom Borman and Sam Burlak in 1924 as Tom's Quality Meats. His brother Abraham Al Borman opened a store in Kercheval on the city's east side. The brothers eventually formed a partnership which lasted until 1945. In 1987, Borman took advantage of Safeway's troubles as an opportunity to diversify its store base beyond Michigan when it bought that chain's 60-store Salt Lake City division. Those stores were renamed Farmer Jack. The expansion was short-lived, and by the end of 1988, Farmer Jack sold the 60-store division to various retailers, including 29 stores to Idaho-based retailer Albertsons. In 1989, supermarket business A&P paid $76 million for 79 Farmer Jack stores operated by Bormans. The buyout made A&P the top player among grocery stores in southeastern Michigan, and by 1994, all A&P stores in Metro Detroit had been converted to Farmer Jack. Farmer Jack is remembered in Metro Detroit for its "It's Always Saving Time" jingle.
It's always savings time at Farmer Jack.
In early 2004, 10 Farmer Jack locations were converted into A&P's Food Basics format in an attempt to compete with discount chains such as Save-A-Lot. A year later, A&P placed Farmer Jack for sale, seeking an estimated $250 million for 71 core stores, with the remaining locations offered individually. The remaining Farmer Jacks closed on July 7th. Number 2. Pathmark. Pathmark began when some of the supermarkets of the Wakefern Food Corporation, the parent company of ShopRite, broke away in 1968 as some independent New Jersey grocers felt they needed to compete better with supermarket chains. The number of Pathmark supermarkets reached 91 in October 1971. In 1977, Pathmark opened its first supercenter, a larger discount grocery store that also offered health and beauty aids, small appliances, and videotape rentals. These 50,000 square foot units generally were expanding and renovating existing stores. By December, Pathmark had pharmacies in 81 of its 103 supermarkets. In its 1977 annual report, Supermarkets General claimed its sales per store were the highest in the industry. Pathmark in 1982 was the nation's 10th largest supermarket chain. Because the FTC did not allow Pathmark's acquisition plans, it filed for bankruptcy in July 2000, recovering early the next year. A&P purchased Pathmark for $665 million, pending shareholder approval, along with the complying with antitrust laws in 2007. Conditions for the acquisition included the sale of 6 Pathmarks to competitors. Pathmark and A&P remained separate banners, while the store-level staff were not affected while buying, and back-office functions were consolidated. The merger was eventually approved on December 3rd that same year. On December 12, 2010, A&P filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection, citing assets of $2.5 billion and debts totaling $3.2 billion. The company emerged from bankruptcy protection on March 13, 2012, making its 6 supermarket divisions, including Pathmark, private. On July 19, 2015, A&P filed for Chapter 11 protection for the second time in less than 5 years. By November 25, 2015, all Pathmark stores were either closed or sold to other chains. The 156th year of A&P also disappeared. On February 10, 2016, retailer-owned Cooperative Allegiance Retail Services, LLC, purchased the Pathmark's name and all its intellectual property associated with the brand. On April 19, 2019, Allegiance opened a fully renovated supermarket under the Pathmark brand in a former Key Food supermarket that had been a Pathmark before 2015, located at 1525 Albany Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. Allegiance has hoped to expand Pathmark if the location in Brooklyn does well. Number 1. Grand Union. Grand Union started as the Jones Brothers Tea Company in 1872. The name Grand Union was inspired by the desire to unite shoppers with low prices in a grand union of value, as described by company associate Elvin Sanders. By the 1930s, it was one of the largest grocery chains in the United States. In 1956, Grand Union opened a discount department store chain called Grand Way in Keansburg, New Jersey. Many of these stores combined a grocery store and a department store. British corporate raider Sir James Goldsmith acquired Grand Union in the early 1970s, which proved to be a money loser during much of Goldsmith's time of ownership. The Grand Way chain was soon closed in 1978, along with the Grand Union store locations from most of the rest of the nation outside of the Northeast and New England in the mid-1980s. In 1989, investment banker Gary D. Hirsch, a partner in the firm Miller Tabak Hirsch & Co., acquired a portion of the Grand Union Company with Solomon Brothers. Under Hirsch leadership, the company was driven into serious debt and ran out of the necessary capital for store improvements and upgrades, making it difficult for them to compete with other better financial retailers. This led to the company into its first bankruptcy as it filed for Chapter 11. In 1996, shortly after Grand Union emerged, Hirsch announced his resignation and sold his share of the company. In 1997, Grand Union brought in J. Wayne Harris to begin a turnaround of the ailing chain. Harris had recently been an executive at A&P and Kroger and had excellent reputation in the industry. Harris immediately began remodeling stores and building larger ones, which put even more stress on the company's finances and forced another Chapter 11 filing in 1998. Around this time, many of the Grand Union's executives were found to have been stealing money, such as Don Vaillancourt, who was convicted of embezzling over $2 million from the company in 2002. Harris was forced out and would later take a job with JCPenney, who hired him to revive their Eckerd drugstore chain, which Harris failed to do so as well. The chain filed for bankruptcy a third time in 2000 and was taken over by New England-based wholesale food distributor C&S Wholesalers a year later. C&S also was one of Grand Union's largest creditors and made a stalking horse offer to take control of the company that was approved. Shortly after, C&S began reorganizing Grand Union's operations. This resulted in a consolidation that left the chain with only a relatively small number of stores in smaller cities and towns across upstate New York and New England. On July 19, 2012, Pathmark announced that it would acquire the 21 remaining Grand Union stores in the Adirondack region and parts of Vermont. The grand reopening ceremonies on July 2, 2013, under the Tops Friendly Market banner, brought an end to the Grand Union supermarket chain. In 2021, it was announced that as part of the Tops Friendly Markets and Price Chopper Supermarkets merger, the combined entity had to sell 12 stores to meet regulatory approval. On November 9, 2021, C&S Wholesale Grocers announced that they were purchasing the 12 stores and will be converting them to Grand Union stores, reviving the brand. So guys, this is it for today. If you liked today's video, please like, share, and subscribe. Also, comment below if you know of any grocery stores that weren't mentioned in today's video. Be sure to check out part 1 of this video, in which I will leave a link down below in the description. Also, huge thanks to our first YouTube member, James Harrington. Thanks for watching.